Hi. How's it going? Welcome to today's live, and we are going to do our normal Sunday case discussion. And holy crap, there have been so many updates that have gone on this week. I mean, we had the Trump meeting with Vanessa Guillen's family. We had brand new revelations and affidavits unsealed in the Olivia Jansen case. Megan Boswell, aka Casey Anthony, went to court. Lots and lots of stuff. So we are going to get started here in just a minute. I see you guys have been in the chat now for like 10 minutes already, so I'm so happy to have you guys. Oh, I love this. I see you guys are like literally from all over the map. It's my favorite. And thank you guys for coming. And if it's your first time, this is 10 to Life. This is my channel where I talk all things true crime. My name is Annie. And usually I like to keep the videos I post, like the pre-recorded ones, to 10 minutes, usually, but sometimes everybody, you know, there's some creeps out there, and sometimes they go a little bit longer than 10 minutes because the details are a lot. And the lives, we usually just hang out and chat, and sometimes they go around 60 minutes, sometimes longer. We'll just kind of see how it goes. I've got my best friend co-hosting with me today. Say hi. I did a little situational, like matchy dressing here just for you guys. So we're going to get started here in just a second. Thanks so much again for tuning in. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're watching this on Facebook or Twitch, we're now streaming literally everywhere. Also, fingers crossed we don't crash. If it does, I want to apologize. This is the first time I'm doing a massive stream like this, so we'll see how it goes. But if you want to support that channel, hit subscribe, follow, like, comment, share this where you can. And feel free to send your super chats, which give you the highlighted comments that go across the screen. And let's get started. So today I really want to start with the Olivia Jansen case. And the reason why is because not only were there big updates released released this week in not only the court documents, but some key affidavit information. But I feel like this case specifically is pretty close to me, and I don't know why I feel that way. Right when I first heard about it, I felt emotionally invested in it, and so that's the one I want to lead with today. Not to say any other cases are less important, but I just want to lead with that. So if you haven't already heard about the Olivia Jansen case, I'm going to summarize it a bit for you, but I also will leave a link in the description box of this video below, linking my first video just to get give you a little bit more in-depth detail on the case if you want. But basically, I'll give you a quick summary just so you kind of know what we're talking about in regards to the new information, because this week, as I mentioned, court documents were released and they outlined exactly what the situation was when they found her poor body and what was suspected to have happened. It also released the cause of death, and it outlines just a really horrific scene. And so what I want to do is start with that, because I do think that she deserves all of us to speak about this and bring awareness, because again, similar to some of the videos I posted in the recent history, if we don't talk about it, nothing's going to change. Nobody's going to have that heightened awareness. So that's what I'm here to do. And again, I'll leave that link for the original video in the box below. So just to give you a little bit of a rundown of what this case is and what happened. On July 10th this year, so just a few weeks ago, a man named Howard Jansen walked into the police station and he said, "My 3-year-old daughter, Olivia, is missing. I woke up this morning. I didn't see her. I saw her when she went to bed last night. The back door was open. I'm worried she was abducted. I can't find her anywhere," and basically was in panic. And so, of course, a search begins immediately following, but the search didn't last very long because Olivia was found that same day, actually just several hours later. And for those of you who have been following the case or have already watched the previous video, we know that when Olivia was found, she was already dead. But I'm going to be outlining for you what was in that court document that detailed the findings and the manner in which she was discovered. I also just want to make it clear, for those of you who are not very familiar with her case, it was suspected based on previous child service calls that there was abuse, and there were previous family services calls from the grandparents, leading everybody to believe that the parents, her father and his fiance, were heavily involved in drug abuse and child abuse, and there was a lot of concern stemming around that. And so immediately following all of this too, after they discovered her body, they were arrested on suspicion of child abuse and the murder of Olivia. And there were reports and testimony from witnesses that shortly after these arrests came forward saying that they had starved Olivia, that they had abused her, and literally the words that were said were that they bounced her off of the walls. And then there was also a statement made that she wasn't falling asleep that last night. And so they rolled her up in a blanket, they duct taped the blanket and put surrounding totes around the blanket so she couldn't escape. Also that they fed her soap on a regular basis. So I mean, truly just evil to the core. And it wasn't a shock when these abuse allegations surfaced that they would, of course, be taken into custody or at the least questioned. And the behavior following when he made that alleged missing persons report also was pretty sketch at best. And that's detailed further in the video I had posted previously. So anyways, her body is found, and they're, of course, then arrested on suspicion of not only child abuse, but murder. And I'm going to read for you what that affidavit read and how they discovered her and the manner she was found. So Kansas police received a tip that afternoon that someone saw a man walking out of the woods that morning. Authorities searched the wooded area and found a trail that led to an area with disturbed soil and branches that appeared to have been a fresh grave site. Olivia Ann Jansen's 3-year-old body was located in a shallow grave covered with sticks. Police noted at the scene that the girl's face was covered in bruises. Authorities also saw other visible injuries on the child's body. The obvious visible injuries that are observed on the victim's body, and most notably on the face, would have been apparent to anyone having contact with Olivia, and it would have showed that she suffered great physical abuse, and this is outlined in the affidavit. A medical examiner later noted that Olivia's arms and legs were also covered in bruises, in addition to her face being covered in bruises. A small cut was noticed on the back of her head, and the ME found significant bleeding on the back of her skull. And the brain bleeding is what ultimately caused her death. And this was just from a severe beating. And so there was really no doubt at this point, in addition to the manner in which her body was found and the cause of death and the previous statements, the call to DCF, that there was child abuse happening to poor Olivia. And they say that she was covered literally head to toe in bruises on her legs, on her arms, on her torso, on her little face, this 3-year-old innocent baby girl. It's truthfully one of the most horrific things I've ever heard. And when I heard that exact statement of she was being bounced off the walls and being thrown on the wall, it's like, who does this? Like, what kind of evil monster does it? So when I heard it, I was truthfully in disbelief. I can't understand how a parent does that to their child, and then their fiance who's also helping you, and you're just watching them do this to your child. It's disgusting on all counts. And so in the department documents, it also lists, the DCF comes out and they give their statement just this last Friday. And they listed 2 calls for service to Olivia's home leading up to her death. And the first of the 2 calls came on February 28th. And as I mentioned, the grandparents had been calling DCF and they were worried. In my previous video, you'll see where I talk about too how the grandmother says that whenever she would go to drop Olivia off back home, or Olivia was to be picked up, she would look at her with a frown and basically say, like, why am I leaving? Are you mad at me? Can I come back? Just heartbroken to be leaving. And so there was suspicion that something was going on, and, you know, they took the appropriate measures that they had the control to take without physically kidnapping her. They called DCF, they made calls, they tried to do wellness checks, and unfortunately it still was not enough to save Olivia. And so let me go back to the calls. On the first of the 2 calls was on February 28th. And the caller stated that Olivia had a bruise on her leg. And the caller said that Olivia was hit by her dad and Olivia's leg may have been broken. Another caller said that Olivia's dad's girlfriend, Jackie, was the one who had hit the child. And it's his fiance. They also posted on Facebook that they were married, but they weren't, I don't believe. It's a weird, crazy story. And again, just watch that first video and you'll just see how nutty these 2 people are. So a social worker visited Olivia in person that same day, according to the summary, and they did the same day response. They went to the home, and there was apparently no evidence of physical abuse. And according to DCF, one of the callers who reported the abuse ended up recanting their story. So the report was ultimately determined to be unsubstantiated, and the case was closed until the next call came in, and this was the final call, and that came in on June 22nd. And I just want to be clear, these are the only 2 calls that are outlined in the document. That is not to say that more calls had not been made and possibly just weren't logged. So because we do know the grandparents had said they made multiple calls over time. So These are just the two that are actually in the documents. So the final call came in on June 22nd. And according to the agency, there was a concern that a parent was using drugs, which we know that there was speculation that both her father, Howard, and the fiance, Jackie, were heavy drug users. 8 days after the complaint, a social worker visited Olivia via video due to Olivia being out of town with her dad's girlfriend, Jackie. The summary only states that Olivia was excited for the 4th of July weekend, and the record shows DCF asked Olivia's dad to take a drug test. On July 7th, he took that test and he tested positive for THC. And although he tested positive, THC, it's weed, isn't taken seriously in a big enough way to be enough to result in the means of a child being removed from their home and removed from their legal parent guardian. So they couldn't remove her. This was on July 7th that the results came back, and Olivia was found dead just 3 days later. It's horrible because it's like the first thing you think is, okay, great. Again, once again, the system failed another child. Like, what are we going to do about this? Like, at what point is enough enough? And Howard Jansen Sr., Olivia's paternal grandfather, had previously said he called Kansas DCF and police on multiple times and that he really does think they should be held accountable, as does the rest of the community. And he says, and I quote, "I'm just really in shock because I thought when I called something would be done. I figured it would be an emergency when you make a call about a child," which any normal citizen would think, right? You would think you're making this call to the agency that is supposed to be protecting kids and protecting families, that's the step you're supposed to be taking, and they will take the steps in place to make sure that they're safe. And when that doesn't happen, not only is that a disappointment, but then when just a few short days later, that same child who is helpless shows up dead, it's infuriating. And Howard Jansen's stepmother, Elizabeth Jansen, and this is Howard Jansen Jr., the father, she did an interview with Nancy Grace this week, and she says that she's known Howard since he was about 2 years old, and that as he's gotten older, he's become more vicious, and when he was even younger, he would harm small animals. And her statement is pretty telling, and I quote, she says, "We weren't rich, but he had everything. Once he got older, he started dabbling into drugs, and I'm not blaming drugs. He is this way: mean, hateful, quick temper, crude, rude, to small animals, to children, just a user and a mooch. Abusive if animals made a mess on the floor or something. He had to be pulled away a couple of times from hurting a small dog." Now, we know when people start harming animals in their youth, that is a huge predecessor for ultimately becoming either a sociopath, a murderer, or an abuser of some sort. So all of the signs were there, all of the reports were made, all of the calls were made, yet it still didn't save this sweet 3-year-old little girl, Olivia, which is just heartbreaking. And again, if you haven't watched this first video, I highly encourage you to go and watch it because it outlines not only the details, but different signs that we can all look for and that we can all be aware of as other children and families may be experiencing this that they're not talking about or the child can't speak up about it. It helps us look for what those signs are, similar to the Gabriel Fernandez case, so that we can ultimately bring attention and awareness to it if needed, and hopefully in turn save a child and save more lives. So again, I'll link that in the description box below. Before we jump to the next update I want to talk about, which is the Vanessa Guillen case, because we know there were a lot of updates that came out of it this week, I want to just pop over to the chat because I see it is just going, and see if you guys have questions about the Olivia case and what we want to discuss with that before we close that one and open the new one. So I see here, let me just pop this up. Who thinks that someone at DCFS also needs to be held responsible for not removing Olivia sooner? I couldn't agree more. I think, and again, we hear this time and time again that it's too late, that by the time people realize that the paperwork got lost in the file or that the system has failed a child, the child's already gone. And I guess I want to know too, just from you guys, because I don't have all the answers, what can we do to not only make sure that less children fall through the cracks of the system, but to make sure that when that does happen, these people are held accountable and they don't get a get out of jail free card just by saying, you have no understanding of our caseload. Like you can't understand. it's such a bullshit excuse, which, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here or if that's going to get taken down, but it is. It's such a bullshit excuse. So at what point are they going to be held responsible and held accountable for this? Because now there's this sweet 3-year-old little girl who's dead, and her mom, by the way, her biological mom, is in custody on unrelated charges, and they have furloughed her to allow her to go to the service, which I wholeheartedly support and agree with. But it's just two tragedies. It's like, she said when she was taken into custody for this unrelated crime, please don't put Olivia with her father. He is abusive. He is a druggie. Don't do it. And they did it. And I get it if there's a formality that they have to go to the biological parent, but like, imagine the guilt she must be feeling of not being there to protect her daughter. And now when she does get out, which I believe she's slated to be released in December, it was for a hit and run charge, which nobody died, but it was still a serious charge. She's supposed to be released in December, I believe, of this year. And it's like, how do you even navigate that? What are you coming home to at that point? You feel the guilt of not being able to protect your child, even though it's not your fault. You hear about the abuse that was happening to her for months while you were locked up, and now it ultimately resulted in her death. Like, what? I don't know as a mom how you move on from that. I don't. Oh, we just went black. Sorry, guys. There we go. Sorry. Thought I was having some tech difficulties. Looks like I'm not very good at this yet. Okay, let's see. We've got another one here from Cynthia. DCFS will never be accountable because look at the case of Gabriel Hernandez. Yes, I agree. I remember, though, in that case, some of them did end up going to trial and being held accountable. But yes, I agree. It's a weird state-by-state loophole, I feel like, where it's a known problem. Everybody's aware of it. Everybody is aware of the staffing issues, of the caseload, of people not following up on their cases. Like, that's when we hear that, it's no real surprise, right? When we hear, oh, they were supposed to make a trip out to the house and they never did, they forged the documents. Like, we're not surprised by it at all. We're kind of used to it at this point. And so if we're all aware that this is a problem and everybody's aware this is a problem, why hasn't something been fixed? Or why aren't the people who are holding those positions more scared of not following up and doing their job? I don't know, but I'm not in that line of work, so I don't have the answers. I'm just trying to see if I can somehow figure it out because I can't wrap my mind around it, because I would like to think that if I were in that position, I would follow up on every single case. I would probably be such a psychopath about it that I would literally be like knocking out of in their window at 2 a.m., just like peeking through the blinds, trying to figure out what's going on and make sure nobody is getting hurt, but I don't know. Okay, so let me see here. I saw something going on. Oh, Misty. Okay. Yes, she is due out in December, and we are all doing our best to support her. Whitney has been struggling a lot. I can only imagine. And please let her know when you talk to her that I know there's an outpouring of love from the community and from all over the country and probably the world, actually. And from anybody I've spoken to and all of the commenters on the previous videos, everybody supports Whitney in this. I don't think that anybody is trying to place blame on her and say, had you been there, you could have prevented it. She's dealing with those internal struggles enough, and she couldn't have prevented it. Like, it's an unfortunate tragedy, and my heart breaks for her, and I'm so happy that they allowed her to go to the service, because I can't even imagine being in custody and in prison and hearing all of this happen and then not even being able to go and grieve your daughter and say goodbye. So I'm very thankful that happened. Let's see. I've heard that DCF has a time limit to complete cases and are closed after a week. Is that true? I don't know if they need to be closed after a week. I could be wrong. I don't know that I've heard that exactly. Maybe it depends on the tier of the case. I'm not entirely sure. But that would be very interesting, and that would, I bet, explain a lot as to why they falsify these documents, but would that explain why Fort Hood falsifies their documents? Probably not. And Fort Hood, I know we're going to get to in a minute, but why is everybody forging all their shit? Sorry, I know I keep cussing, but why is that happening? Okay, anyways. Oh, here we go. Answer to the question. Sarah Nichols. In my state, they have 60 days to investigate and close or start services. Okay, so interesting enough. But again, I don't know. And like, maybe it's me just being optimistic and naive. But if I feel like even if I had like 100 caseloads, and I'm sure they have even more, but if I had like 100 cases, like, and maybe it's just because I'm passionate about it, and not to say they're not, but like, I would literally not sleep until I crossed every T, dotted every I, went and did several checks on these kids, because imagine the guilt, which I would hope they would feel guilty when things like this happen and they aren't able to sleep at night, because it's like, there's this little child, sometimes infants, like Olivia, yes, was young at 3 years old, but there's kids even younger and there's kids older. And so it's like these young children, you're really their only advocate, the only one who has a shot at protecting them. So to not do that to the best of your ability, I can't understand it. I can't understand it. And I don't know how you can sleep and not assume guilt on yourself. That's my personal opinion. Let's see. I just came on. Have you any news on Evelyn Boswell, little girl in Tennessee? We're going to talk about that towards the end. But yes, Megan did go to court for a hearing this week, and she's going back on August 19th and back again on August 28th, but we will get to that. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and go into the Vanessa Guillen case. And I really hope that most of you know about the Vanessa Guillen case and what's really going on. She's the soldier from Fort Hood, and she ultimately had gone missing on April 22nd, and they found her remains just a couple of months later. And it has been like literally the craziest case that has happened in a really long time. And I say that because there are so many layers to it, and like so much conspiracy and corruption with like the military cover-ups, the suicide, which again, if you are familiar with the case, you know why I'm saying that. There's just a ton of different layers to it. And so if you haven't heard of the case, I'm going to ask you, you should probably just pause this video now and like go a few videos back. I think I actually even created a playlist on this because I made a few videos about it with all of the new updates as they emerge. But like, this case is freaking nuts. It's a soldier who went missing. She was complaining to her family and friends about sexual harassment that was happening on the base, and it's suspected that the day she was going to report that, she disappears. But then a couple of months later, after extensive searches and at no help of the military, only because her family made a media frenzy over this, did they discover her remains. And they soon found out that the man who had killed her, then when they approached him trying to corner him and arrest him and charge him, he killed himself, which I don't believe has happened. I think that they got rid of him, and I think he was a fall guy, or like they didn't want to talk. And again, go back to previous videos if you want to know all about that. And his girlfriend was also arrested because they tried to burn her body, and then they hacked her up with a machete and buried different body parts of hers in different holes, and then covered it with cement in each hole. Like, just gruesome, evil, like horrible. So if you're not familiar with that case, you need to be, because I don't know how you haven't heard about it. But anyways, it has been ongoing since April. It has been a media frenzy, like I said, and they are now introducing a brand new bill, or they did introduce a brand new bill just last week to Congress. And they also met and sat down with President Trump. The family did. Trump offered to sit down with them and talk with them to see what it was he could do to help them and to get this investigation going, because the military has really been stonewalling them from the beginning, giving them false information. They had to see certain updates in the news before they even informed the personal family about it. Like when Aaron Robinson, the suspect who was the one to have killed her, shot himself, I know I keep saying that loosely, they didn't even tell the family about that. The family had to see it on the news the next morning. Like, it's just been a complete, I'm going to just say it again, shitstorm, because I don't know another word to use for that. And there has been a lot of shady activity around Fort Hood in general. So, I mean, we know that, like, there's all these cover-ups happening, all these conspiracies. The family attorney went to Fort Hood and went into this armory room where Vanessa was working that day, where the murder is supposed to have taken place, where they say he took a hammer and he bludgeoned her to death in that arms room. And she said, no, the arms room, I saw it, that she was working in was literally a quarter the size of the room they were in the White House when they spoke. And it's like an open floor plan type situation. So there's absolutely no way that somebody didn't hear it, didn't see it, wouldn't have seen the cleanup. If he actually truly killed her and like bludgeoned her to death, there would have been blood everywhere. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. And especially because of how busy the entire area is. So they're calling for a congressional investigation because they realize like there's just so much cover up, so much conspiracy, and so much shade going on with this case. So one of the biggest things that I thought came out of the meeting with Trump was actually just another revolution. So we know that there was when was it? In March, I believe it was. Was it March? Yeah, it was right before Vanessa went missing that there was a huge prostitution and pimp trafficking ring and sting and all that stuff in Killeen, which this all takes place in Killeen, Texas. And so they had arrested over a dozen people in this sex ring and sex trafficking ring, prostitution, pimps, all these things. And 6 of them were soldiers who worked at Fort Hood. And so we already know just from previous statements and research and conversations that we've all been having that town is riddled with drugs, with sex trafficking, with child trafficking, with prostitution, and that the local police is a little corrupt, that the military is corrupt, and just like it's a big shady town. It's like Shadyville over there. But what I thought was interesting is one of the things that came out specific to that whole prostitution ring conversation at Fort Hood, and this dates back to 2015. And I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I quote it exactly right. But in 2015, the prostitution ring was led by a sergeant on Fort Hood. But yet that same sergeant was leading the sharp classes, which if you don't know what the sharp classes are supposed to prevent sexual harassment from happening throughout higher ranking soldiers, sergeants, and you can report into these sharp people, and like he was the one leading these. So he would have been like the guy where if you're feeling uncomfortable or something's happening, you go to him. He's leading these classes on, sexual harassment training and all these things. Well, he was leading this entire prostitution ring. Like, what are you talking about? So like, how is it possible that someone trying to protect soldiers from sexual harassment and rape and abuse and assault is yet the same person conducting a prostitution ring? And I feel like that is just so telling in itself, because if there was any question that there's shady activity going down at Fort Hood, I mean, there's zero question about it anymore. It's like, this is just one more layer. Again, like, I feel like we keep hearing about all these new cases at Fort Hood. We know about Gregory Morales, another soldier who went missing back in the fall, and then they found him as they were looking for Vanessa. They stumbled across Greg's remains, and there was a huge big stink because they technically had listed him as AWOL and a deserter, and they weren't going to give him the military funeral that he was entitled to, even though he was supposed to be discharged just a couple days after he disappeared. Like, there's just news after news after news to where it's like you're almost now desensitized to it, to where it's like if right now we saw something come across our phone or our newsfeed that said like, oh, brand new missing persons report at Fort Hood, we'd be like, shit, another one? Like, but you're not even shocked by it. You're just like, God, add it to the list. And like, what's even worse is this week I had so many people sending me emails, messages, tagging me, commenting me on things saying, hey, did you hear about the baby at Fort Hood? The baby who died, the baby who was dropped from the roof or thrown from the roof. Did you hear about the baby who was buried? This and that. And like, so I, of course, started researching it, and there was more than one case regarding a baby who died at Fort Hood. Like, that is just how horrible this is. And you can't even figure out which case you're looking at because there's so freaking many of them. And I want to say it was like, what is it? Somebody will know in here. I want to say it was like 12 soldiers in the last year, or maybe it was even 20 soldiers in the last year have gone missing from Fort Hood, just that base. And a lot of them have come up dead, and nobody knows what the cause of death was, or I shouldn't say what the cause of death was, what the motive was. And like, it's all this weird circumstantial bullshit. And it's pretty insane. So I'm really hoping that this congressional hearing does happen. Trump sounded like he wanted to do something about it. He said, he offered to pay for the funeral expenses, which he's already getting a military funeral. And he said like, okay, well, we're going to investigate into everybody. We're going to get answers for you. So I really do hope that that is true. But I mean, only time will tell. But I feel like at least there's enough of a spotlight right now on Fort Hood, and there's so much conversation happening that I would imagine something needs to be done, and that more people are going to talk. We've even had in here, and I know some of you who have been with me since the very beginning, we've had people in here who are active duty at Fort Hood who have wanted to share their story, but some of them even have been too scared to come forward, which I completely get. I would be terrified too, because you can't fall out of line. You don't know what's going to happen. You're either going to get killed, raped, assaulted, or you're going to be the fall guy and you're going to get all of that crap blamed on you, and then you're going to kill yourself as a means to end and tie up a loose end and case closed. It's just unreal to me. I mean, it just is bizarre. I don't know how something hasn't been done sooner, but hopefully Trump takes it seriously enough to do something about it. I would imagine, and I'm not getting political here, I would imagine if he is very serious about re-election, that this would be the perfect case to help him get reelected. So if he drops the ball here, I feel like, oh, that could really hurt you. But if you don't, and if you do something about it, I think that could really help you. So just putting that out there. And let's see. So in addition to that meeting with Trump and them introducing the bill for Vanessa, which is basically to make it so that anybody who is experiencing sexual harassment or abuse at the in the military, they can have a safe haven and a place to speak up about it without feeling like they are going to be reprimanded or have some sort of retaliation against them. So hopefully that passes, that goes through. But it's like, even if that does, is there just going to be one more layer of how that can get covered up? Who knows? Because right now, technically, with the SHARP program and other things, they should already have that, and they don't. But another thing that came out of it, good old Cecily Aguilar, my favorite orange-haired a-hole psychopath, she is still in custody, and we know her husband or estranged husband is now standing by her too, and saying that she wouldn't hurt a fly or a spider or whatever the hell he said. Like, they're just equally, I can't. But her lawyer issued a gag order on everybody involved, everybody who's talking about it, everything that's going on, which a gag order is typically done so that you don't taint your jury pool, because basically it's when too much information gets out there in the media and you already are painting this person as a villain and nobody's going to be a neutral party anymore. But it's a little too late for that. I feel like this gag order should have probably been done, what day is it, August 1st? Like, I don't know, at least 30 days ago at the very least, maybe even, well, I guess 45 would have been the max because it happened around the end of June when she got caught with everything. But yeah, the lawyer issued a gag order, but it's too little too late. Everybody who knows anything about this case automatically knows they know her name even more so than Aaron Robinson. But I thought that was really interesting because they're trying to shut it down because they're really trying to protect their jury pool right now, meaning that she is going to fight for that not guilty verdict, which just infuriates me, especially because she has a written statement, she has testimony, she was on freaking recording admitting the whole thing to the police, and now she's going to go and say that she was cornered by Robinson to do all of this and that she's innocent and that she didn't know and blah, blah, blah. Like, and she has her religious Bible husband next to her who was accused of sleeping with 25 prostitutes in Killeen. Like, guys, I'm telling you, you have to watch the videos that I've posted on this because it's literally a Lifetime movie with how crazy this case is, which is scary because not only is it real life, but it's our military. Like, that is freaking horrifying. So that's the news there. So let me just pop over here a little bit and see I love that somebody said, this bitch. My thoughts exactly. All right, let me see. Love your description of Cecily. You know what? I hate her. And I wish I was better at screen sharing while I do this multi-stream because I would just show you guys and put her on blast, these like horrific photos of her and her social media where she is just like a trash dump and selling feet pictures and trying to look for a sugar daddy and like posting these vile captions literally days after she just hacked up Vanessa's body, talking about how like two evil spirits join as one. She's sick. She is sick. And I think the family attorney described it perfectly. She is a terrorist. She literally attacked a U.S. soldier and killed her and disposed of her body in such a way. She should be charged as a terrorist, hands down, because she is just disgusting. So I'm going to throw this up here and let's talk about this a little bit. How can he stick by Cecily's side? 6, she's a very good manipulator. I agree with you. So for those of you who aren't super familiar with her estranged husband, Keon. Keon is a very religious man, and she started cheating on Keon with Aaron Robinson, the one who is suspected to have killed Vanessa and then killed himself. And Keon was a former soldier at Fort Hood. Say that 5 times fast. And he and Aaron were friends. And so Aaron actually lived with the 2 of them. So it was like the 3 of them, they lived together. And then Cecily and Aaron start having this affair behind Keon's back. And then Cecily's texting one of her friends saying, and I have these screenshots, I think I showed it in the last video. She's texting her friend being like, Keon was cheating on me with 25 prostitutes and he paid every single time. And all these prostitutes would come into the gas station where I work at and they would like taunt me and basically like lean against the counter being like, yeah, I slept with your man. Like all these things, like painting him as though he's this villain, which who knows if that's true or not. I think if there's somebody who is that religious, I have a hard time believing that they slept with 25 prostitutes. However, I also think if there's somebody who's that religious, you have a hard time standing by your girl, whether she's your wife or not, after she's been accused of dismembering a U.S. soldier. So I don't know if he's all here. I don't know how true that all is. But I do think it's interesting that he is standing by her side and how he did that media interview right after her first hearing when she pled not guilty and how he said she would never even hurt a spider. And she's always been a fun, optimistic person, really funny, really loud, like this and that. And I'm like, okay, you're trying to like paint her as this like amazing person, but like we already know what she's done because she admitted it in court documents. Like, what do you mean? So my thinking is that she may, after Aaron killed himself, I think that she probably reached out to him saying like, I've been praying a lot, like really leaning into this religious piece of it because she knows he's such a strong believer, allegedly, saying, I really just want to be saved. Help me, Keon, help me, like being this damsel in distress to where maybe he got off on that and was like, yeah, you made a mistake, babe. Like, till death do us part. I've got your back. We're going to find God together, this and that. And maybe he's just that naive and stupid. And so he's trying to stand by her side and sell it. I don't know. It is just crazy. All right. So let's roll into the Megan Boswell case. So Megan Boswell had her hearing this week and not much came out of it. It was a hearing to talk a little bit about evidence, to talk about the upcoming charges, and it got pushed out a little bit. It was originally pushed out to August 28th, but they are now doing the grand jury on August 19th, and it is expected that there are going to be new charges against Megan filed during that. So they still nobody has been charged with Evelyn Boswell, her daughter, which if you haven't heard of the Megan Boswell case, she literally is Casey Anthony 2.0. Go watch that video. It's on my feed. And you'll get up to date on this case as well. But, and I'm telling you, she is Casey Anthony 2.0, 100% through and through. And so nobody has been charged yet with Evelyn, her daughter's death. And we all know that certain family members were involved. She's been lying a lot. She was charged with false statements to the police, which technically, because of those statements, she could be out on parole by now after being convicted. So that's why they don't want to wait until the 28th of August. They want to bump that up and do the grand jury on the 19th because they are going to be bringing in those new charges, which I'm hopeful that the murder charges are going to happen at that time, or at least something related to Evelyn's death, because I do think that that's going to ensure that she is not only incarcerated longer, but that of course then there's justice for sweet Evelyn. Let's see. Thank you, Jessica, for the super chat. So let's see. Gregory McQueen, the sharp leader who is trafficking subordinates' wife, started a nonprofit, She Will, that targets vulnerable women. Scary as what? Wow. Can you explain a little bit more about that? I need to research that, but thank you for sharing. And thank you for your super chat. So, yes, so I'm hopeful that in that grand jury on the 19th of August, that the new charges that come are something tied directly to Evelyn's murder or the involvement in that, and something, the evidence tampering and all of that. And I feel like we have so much happening in August. We have this with Megan Boswell. We have more in Chad Daybell. We have more in Lori Vallow. We have more in Taylor and Brianna Williams. There's a lot more. There's a lot of cases and a lot of court cases happening this month, which is going to be really interesting to see what goes down, because hopefully without a second wave of COVID coming, I don't know why I did air quotes. I meant to do this. Knock on wood. Hopefully these people start actually going to court, which off topic a little bit, the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell hearings, they finally did agree that media is allowed to be in that courtroom, which what I would not give to have a freaking press badge, because I would drive from New York to Idaho right now to get all up in that courtroom. No joke, 100%. But they were trying to say that all media should be banned from the courtroom. And they're like, no, they're allowed in, because they're just trying to protect their image, which, sorry, kids, the world didn't end on July 22nd like you predicted, but you're an idiot. Like, literally, you guys are both complete idiots. All right, so let's see. Yes, Jessica, let's talk about this a little bit, how he changed his tune. So those of you who aren't super familiar, again, with Keon and with Cecily Aguilar, the estranged husband, he was shot at twice, suspected by Cecily and Aaron Robinson. And again, yet he's still standing by her. And if you want to know about the shooting and what happened, which it was literally the day after they did the first search for Vanessa's remains and they found evidence in that location by that river, it's just all too coincidental. So go take a look at that. Thank you, Turquoise. I'm just going to throw this up. Guys, that's so nice. But I wish I had her voice and I wish I had her face, which I don't have her face. She's like a vintage angel. But thank you for that. And I love your name, by the way. Let's see. Marjane, my girl. Hey, this is my friend from back home. Okay, let's see. They need to charge her with negligence. That's what they should have done with Casey Anthony, and she would have been found guilty. 100%. And she right now, to my understanding, has only been charged, I believe, with all the false statements, because she was giving like a slew of them to law enforcement. But I'm hoping that these charges that come are something that'll tie her in more to where like she can't get a get out of jail free card like Casey Anthony got, because I remember watching that verdict. I was literally in San Diego with my family on a family vacation that we do every single year. I don't even remember how old I was. Not old enough to where I should have known what was going on at that point, but I remember watching it and like my jaw dropped and I was in complete shock. I was like, how could anybody, no less an entire jury, find this person not guilty? It blew my mind. It blew my mind. What's going on with Natalie Berry? Unfortunately, they did receive a tip this week after the age progression photo came out of, I'm sorry, Natalie Berry. Why am I thinking of, I was thinking of Brittany Wood. Natalie Berry. Natalie Berry was found. So Natalie Berry is happy, safe with family. She was found. So that is why I took that video off my feed, because she is no longer missing. Sorry, I don't know why I thought you were talking about Brittany Wood, which is a whole different case that's going on. There's just too much true crime going on in my mind at any given moment. You know what? I'm just gonna, they should have given her life just for her pumpkin hair. Amen. But guys, I'm not gonna lie. I had pumpkin hair once. Literally, I tried to tell people, I was like, oh, it's copper. And they're like, it's orange, Annie. Your hair is orange. Your hair is orange. You look like a fire crotch. That's what they told me. All right, what else, guys? Is that a Slayer tee? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You guys are killing me right now with your comments. Honestly, you're so funny. What else do I have for you? A new update. So if you have, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go a little off topic for a second. I know I didn't talk about this in the description or the title for this live, but screw it. It's my live, so I can talk about what I want. So let's talk a little bit about child trafficking. And if you haven't watched the video that I uploaded most recently, which was on Friday, I believe, please go watch it after this. Please. It's a little bit longer than my normal videos. It's about 22 minutes, but it is very important that you watch it, because not only do we talk about a case which there is literally a family, there's a lot of words with this, a family child sex ring full of incest, okay, with like over 10 family members. And so we talk about that case, but in the beginning of the video as well, we talk about all of the statistics with child trafficking and how bad it really is out there right now. And one thing that struck me and really kind of made me stop right in my tracks to be like, holy shit, this is like a much bigger problem than I ever knew. And I always knew it was a problem, but I think I kind of had my like privilege blinders on and wasn't really paying attention to just how big of a problem is. But it really level set things for me. And I'm going to explain why. Last year alone, 45 million pieces of child pornography were exchanged, whether that's a photo or a video. And we know 45 million is a big number, right? It is a lot. It's like, if somebody gave me 45 million, I'd be stoked. Or if you bought a house for 45 million, that's a shit ton of money. Sounds like a lot of money, but you don't quite realize how big it is. And I'm going to break it down for you so you see how big that is. So 45 million pieces of child pornography exchanged just last year alone. There are 525,000 minutes in a year. It would take over 80 years if a piece of content was shared every single minute. Now, for the next 85 years, that would equate to the 45 million that was shared just last year alone. Think about it. 85 years is a lifetime, right? So starting today, if every single minute, we've already been here 47 minutes. That means 47 images or videos of kids would have been shared by now. If a piece of content was shared every single minute for the next 85 years of your life, until you're dead, basically, that would amount to the level of content that was exchanged just in one single year last year. And that number is increasing every single year. So it's really alarming, and it's really freaking disgusting. And when I did my research before I posted this last video on Friday about this particular case with Brittany Wood, I was researching a lot of statistics and a lot of cases and thinking, Operation Underground for the children and all these different ways you can get involved, which me personally, I would like to be a part of that jump team, but they're not accepting applications, which my husband would probably kill me. But basically, that's the crew that goes into these countries and rescues these children being trafficked. And like, I would dedicate my life to doing that in a heartbeat, as dangerous as that is. But I started reading about what the demand is really out there, and if there's a particular age group or a niche, because oftentimes when we associate child trafficking, we automatically think it's a little girl, which we know it's not. We know it's little boys. We know it's older kids. We know it's really a plethora. What I didn't know, and what makes me physically sick to my stomach, is there is a whole market out there for children with their umbilical cords still attached. So not only are there these sick-ass people who want to purchase that and get off by that, but there's these sick-ass people who are giving birth to that and allowing it to happen directly out of their body. It is horrible, and like, I remember reading that and I was truly in disbelief. I was like, there is no possible, because my first thought was like, what do you mean the umbilical cord's still attached? They just gave birth, they're in the hospital. And then I started reading more, I'm like, oh, like, it's horrible. And it's really uncomfortable. And it's, when you start reading these things, like, I have the chills just talking about it. It's really uncomfortable and really disgusting, but it is very, very important that we all talk about it and educate ourselves on it, because the more we know about it, as hard as it is for us to digest and swallow, the easier it will be for us to identify it happening somewhere and see it and see the signs and know what to look for. And that's the only way we can stop it, because these sick ass people are, it's it's unbelievable the amount that this is happening. And there's another thing I saw this week on Facebook, and it's we all know about being gender fluid and or being fluid sexually or whatever it may be. There's something now that people are trying to actually pass called being age fluid, which is like it's basically pedophiles saying that you can. Right now I could fall in love with a 4-year-old, but then the 4-year-old grows up and then I'm not attracted to that age anymore. I'm falling in love with a 4-year-old again. Like being able to fluctuate with what age you identify with and what age you're attracted to. And they're also trying to pass that the age of consent is 4. 4. That is not an exaggeration. Like, it's mind-blowing. And like, they're trying to, like, these creeps are trying to use this age fluid argument as, well, once everybody was against gay marriage and thought that was wrong, or once people thought it wasn't okay for Black people to marry white people, and now look where we are. That's the same thing. It'll be legal one day. They truly believe this. They truly, truly believe this. And it is disgusting. It is like the fact that the nerve of these people are trying to push this agenda truly sickens me. Like, it's horrible. I just saw it. The Glare spoke on that last week. I didn't know that. I need to watch that then. I have not. We need to talk about that then, because on Will's channel, guys, drop a link, Will. We're going to be talking more on his channel at 7:45, so maybe we can talk about that a little bit. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. It's disgusting. And you're right. It is money making, which is like the worst part about it. Now that we had Child Trafficking Awareness Day just a couple days ago, I believe it was on the 30th, so just 2 days ago. And I saw a lot of people on my feeds posting these underground videos and posts trying to like show like how real this is. And I saw one where it was basically talking about, it was this huge long comment thread on like the dark web trying to access this little boy. And there were pictures of a man assaulting this little boy and people liking it, saying, when's my turn? Where can I get one? Is this like, it's truly happening. Like, and I hate to say it, but there's probably somebody in my building. I live in New York. There's probably somebody in my building who's involved in something like that, whether they're distributing it or receiving it or buying it or whatever they're doing. I'm sure there's got to be at least one. There's probably one in the building next to me. There's probably a plethora in the city. Like, it's everywhere. It's in our own backyard. It's everywhere we look. So the more that we talk about it and the more you research on it, no matter how sick it makes you to where you feel like, I physically can't read this anymore, keep reading, because that's what's going to educate you to identify these signs. Or if you see a child acting a certain way or telling a certain story that they think didn't mean anything, whether it was a certain touch or a certain game that they played, like, you'll know what to look for and you'll hear something when it's alarming and hopefully you'll be able to bring it to somebody's attention. So I just wanted to talk about that really quick because it's something that I have been researching a lot lately and trying to figure out how I can get more involved in the fight against that. Aside from just donating money, yes, the donating money is great. It's fine. It's fantastic. But like, how do I physically get involved in that is basically like what I've been researching. And as I've been researching that, I've been researching more stories about it and more statistics about it. So I encourage you to do the same. Let's see. I'm glad so many of you are disgusted here in the comments. That means it's resonating with you as it should be. Adam, I'm going to throw this up because I agree. We don't want to think about it, but we need to be educated on this so we can bring an end to this. I couldn't agree more. And for me, like I said in the beginning of that, it's like, it was easy for me to have my blinders on, like living my little white girl privileged life, just kind of like do, like, yeah, I know about trafficking. I watch Law and Order SVU, like, thanks. Like, I know all of the information I need to know about, like, just not aware of anything. And then it's like, you start looking at this, you start seeing the graphic imagery of these kids who are abused more times than you can count in such a finite amount of time to where then they're just discarded and thrown away. And I forget what the average age was. I want to say I read the average age is 9 of when they're no longer useful. And they're just tossed aside, and either they're drugged to death, they're killed, they're gone, like they turn into an actual just physical slave, and because they're no longer good for sex. Like, it's horrifying, and it's all too real. So I encourage all of you guys to research it. Yes, Operation Underground is it's, what is it? Operation Underground Railroad. I'll post the link in here for where you can donate if you would like to, because I think that their group, they're really doing a lot there. And so, yeah, I need a drink after that. So keep chatting, and then I'm going to jump in here and answer some of these questions. Monica. Yes, I briefly talked about it. So let me throw this on here. The Taylor Williams case. She did have a court date. It was June 30th, and it got pushed to early July. And now it's pushed to August 7th, I believe. I'll have to double check, but I'm staying on top of that case as well. So more updates soon to come. And God, it's like, I get it. Like, life is hard. COVID is hard. Taking care of your kids is hard. But like, why? I feel like there has been a spike lately in all of these child abuse cases and child murdering cases. It's sick. It's freaking sick. All right, guys. So yes, Tim Ballard, 100%, 100%. Okay. Yeah. Yes. This is what I was talking about. So here, I'm going to put this on here. It's Operation Underground Railroad, guys. And it is amazing. What they're doing and how many lives they've already saved and what their mission is. Please go at least research them, donate to their cause, see what it is they're all about. It's unreal. That's the jump team I want to get on board with. So if anybody has the plug, let me know, because like I would be on a plane headed there with them to help in a freaking heartbeat. Thanks, Adam. I appreciate the support. Are there any other, let's see, what other case updates can we talk about? I feel like there are just so many, so much happening, well, let me just tell you guys a little bit of news. I don't know how long you have been following on YouTube, or if you're watching this on my brand new Facebook page, which I literally like linked Friday night, I think, or Twitch, which is my first one today. I'm like doing a multi-stream everywhere, but that's exciting news. So now we're doing multi-stream everywhere. There's also true crime merch available, which I should make a promo code for you guys here. 100% I should. For everybody watching this. Actually, you know what? That's what we're going to do. I'm just going to keep the other one rolling from last time. So use the promo code Save the Children and because we're talking about child trafficking, and you'll get 40% off your whole order. Because why not? It's for a good cause. Or at least it's bringing awareness a little bit. But yeah, so I'm streaming on all of those platforms now. We have true crime merch, which it's like not like branded 10 to life crap that's like cheesy and disgusting. It's like true crime sayings and things like killers' names and stuff like that. So you can go to Shop with Annie and use the promo code Save the Children, all lowercase, and get 40% off if you're into it. But there's cool tie-dye stuff. And I remember reading in the chat last time, some of you guys have been buying the hoodies and the joggers, which are like literal butter, so soft. So I'm glad you guys like those. I need to get more of those in because some of them had already sold out. I got a restock of them, but I need to make more options available for you guys because that appears to be the fan favorite, in addition to the tie-dye shirts. Can you share details about Natalie Berry? I can't share too many details except for the fact that she was found and she is safe and unharmed. There is tie-dye in there, Aurora. Lots of tie-dye. So yeah, head there and use that promo code. And oh, you got the cropped hoodie. I'm so glad. It is so soft. It's the same material too as the joggers, which is like ultra soft. And in addition to just the true crime merch on there, I did a tiny little COVID Warzone capsule for all my girls who have men who are literally playing Warzone 18 hours a day like I do. And the place that they get basically when they're playing, the place when they die that they get banished to, like the Hunger Games, and have to fight for their life, is called the Gulag. So I made shirts and like those comfy joggers that are unisex, so guys can wear them too. So you can buy them for a guy that say, my wife sent me to the Gulag, because that's where I want to send him literally every single day. Especially when he orders Papa John's, which if you guys have watched my videos, you get it. You get the struggle. We live in New York, and he freaking orders Papa John's. The promo code is Save the Children. I'm going to type it in here. And oh, good. I'm glad that you guys are seeing some merch that you guys like. That's amazing. Super chat. I love these super chats. I love the different colors that come through. Jessica, thank you so much for your support. My absolute favorite YouTuber. Your content is fire, and I love how you bring awareness to all these cases. People are completely discussing. Thank you so much for the support and for the positive and nice feedback. I appreciate it. You guys are, like, honestly the best. I can't even believe it. You guys are the best. And we've got a super sticker. Thank you, Concoop67, super sticker. I just like doing these because they're so bright and fun and colorful. And if you guys have any requests too of stuff that you want to see in merch, like if there are certain sayings or other suggestions, let me know. I've had a couple of special requests, but yeah, I'm glad that some of you guys are buying the hoodies and sweats before they sell out again, because they are like, I don't know if for girls you're familiar with Wild Fox. It's just like soft and yummy and buttery, and like they have the cute little saying. I don't know. I'm obsessed. Anyways, all right, let me put this on the screen here. I've been hearing people being taken from stores and traffickers saying that they're from a church and convince people to go with them. That's horrifying. Is that like the new version of like, hey, I have some candy, or oh, do you want to come see my dog in my van? That is horrible. Which it's like, no offense, but like some churches, that should just throw up a red flag. There was a guy here in New York, a priest, who just got freaking arrested for molesting like 13 little kids. Disgusting. All right, guys. Well, the red flag, Amy. Okay, I don't know if it was you who emailed me and said that. Okay, let me put this on the screen here, because I don't know if it's you who had emailed me and said that. Actually, quite a few of you have asked me to do that. If you've watched my pre-recorded videos, I've been like doing this weird thing lately, unintentionally, but like I talk with my hands a lot. And if you follow me on TikTok, you know I'm like always talking with my hands. And so like as a red flag in a case happens, I'm always like, there's a red flag. There's a red flag number 2. And so now I started doing this, like, here's the red flag monitor, ding, 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 red flag, every time there is one. And I was like, oh, I need to do it with like an actual little like red flag counter emoji thing here. And that's funny that you said I should put red flags on some shirts, because other people have suggested that as well. So maybe that will be in my next wave that comes out soon, the red flag shirts, because I mean, they're just full of red flags. Okay, and a few of you guys want that. All right, I'm doing it. I'm going to design it tonight, 100%. I'm going to design it tonight, and I'm going to have it loaded for you by tomorrow morning. And I probably only are going to be able to, I'm only going to be able to load a handful of them due to inventory levels because of COVID and how hard it is to fulfill things. But I will load them tonight. They will be available, like, I'm going to tell you, midnight Eastern time, it will be up on the site. So if you want one, get it. Let me know if you want like a tank or a V-neck or a hoodie or an embroidered, whatever you want, and I'll do that. Can the back of the shirt say ding with the tally marks? I know. Literally, that should just be like my new handle. It shouldn't even be 10 to life. It should just be like, how many red flags? Ding, 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 ding. Yes, there were updates on the Vanessa case. Go ahead and rewind and you can hear those. And maybe I should also make a shirt that says, for the love of God, not Papa John's, right? Freaking Jeremiah. So I mentioned it earlier, but if you guys want to keep chatting and hanging and talking true crime, we're going to go on Will's channel at 7:45. Will, please drop another link to it here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're going to talk about some cases, but we're also going to kind of just shoot the shit and talk about life and more of like on a personal level. So if you're interested in learning about us or learning about my daily antics or what it is I do for work, because I know last time so many of you guys were curious about that, head over there and we'll talk more about that. Wine glasses, 100%, and shot glasses, Marjane, good call. Okay, I need to get more tie-dye. Okay, more tie-dye. I'm gonna do the red flags. Do we want, and obviously we want the red flag to actually be red. So should it be on a white shirt or a black shirt or a red shirt with like an outline in white? I'm gonna get creative. I'm gonna get you guys some goods. But yes, just like how many red flags across the screen? Do the clothes go true to size? Hoodies. Yes, they are true. The hoodies are true to size. The sweatpants can be unisex. So I think if you want them super cozy, go just your normal size. Or if you want them to be a little bit more fitted like a jogger, go a size down because they are unisex. Ew, Freddie, get the hell out of here. Will, get Freddie Weaver out of here, please. Sicko. Let's see. Tie-dye cropped hoodie. Working on it. The problem is, which I know this mostly because of my day job, because as you guys all know, I'm in the fashion industry. I do trend forecasting for a living. But with COVID right now, it's really hard to source goods from overseas, which is where the good stuff it really comes from for the most part. But it's hard to get stuff on the boat, and it's hard to even air things over. So that's why inventory has been not only limited in terms of the breadth of assortment that you can get, but also once things sell out, it's really hard to get back into it in a fast way. So I'm working on it. But right now it's a little limited as to what's available because of COVID and because of all of the delays with shipping and stuff. All right. Any other questions, guys? Before I'm going to take a quick break before Will's live at 7:45. But thanks again for joining me today. If you guys have any questions, please leave it in the comments or shoot me an email. Any case recommendations, AnnieElise55. Please don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button below. Use the promo code Save the Children, 40% off all true crime merch at shopwithannie.com. And what else can I tell you? Thank you, Love Russell, for the super sticker. You guys are the best. Thank you for showing your support and supporting this channel. You guys are so amazing, honestly. You guys are the best. And now streaming on Twitch and also streaming on Facebook. And if there were any issues with this in terms of like a lag time or if it got choppy in any way, please let me know because I'm trying to like up my equipment situation and figure out what it is I need to come through the clearest. And that's all I got, guys. I'm glad you got another sweatshirt, Brandy. So cozy. Like best gift idea ever too for any friends who are like into true crime. I feel like it's the best. All right, guys. Thank you for your support. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, share this where you can. And also, please go back one video and watch that child trafficking video and the case of Brittany Wood. Educate yourselves. I am challenging you. It's uncomfy, I know, but watch it. You need to watch it. It's that important. Have a great night, guys. I will see you on the next live, which is Thursday at 6, and I most likely will be posting a new video before then, too, a pre-recorded one. Thanks again for hanging out with me tonight, guys, and stay safe. Bye.